Welcome to my daily watercolor practice. I do these videos every day and I practice a different skill every day. So I hope you join me. Today I will be practicing blowing paint with a straw, and I find it so much more helpful to just like isolate a specific technique or exercise that I'm focusing on, because watercolors can be quite tricky, whether you're just starting out or you've been painting for a while. You probably have moments where you feel like, oh, this is so hard. So I find these exercises very helpful to feel less overwhelmed, because I'm just literally focusing on one thing, and I also treat them as practice rather than something too I don't know, too deep, too difficult, but I also try to make them helpful. So the first thing I want to practice is how how blowing the paint in different directions, how it's going to affect the results, how it's going to look. So I'll do a chaotic blow. I'll do one where I'm blowing paint in the same direction. Just need to wet my palette a little bit because we will be using a lot of paint, quite watery paint. Then here I'll do blowing kind of from the center, and then I will blow using, rather than using a blob, I'll use like lines of paint, which it will probably become a little bit more clear later on. I'm using a straw, but you don't really necessarily need to use a straw. It's just kind of a little bit easier to direct your blow, I guess, when you use a straw, but you can literally just blow, just with your mouth. Right, so I will use just same paint for the first blob. Just a blob, random blob. So this one is chaotic, so I'll just blow. These are a little bit small, so it might be a bit tricky. There we go, kind of like a chaotic blow, so you can get a very messy results, I guess. Okay, so the next one, can I try to make it a little bit more directional? Let's maybe use a different paint this time, especially if they end up crossing over. It will be easier to see which one came from where. So again, I'm just starting with a blob. But this time I'll just be blowing in one direction. That's it. That's kind of it's a bit boring, I guess, like this. I normally would add probably some more, but for the sake of this exercise, I'm just gonna leave it like that. Now the next one I want to try is blowing from the center. So yeah, I'll kind of like at a 90-degree angle, I guess. Maybe use a different. So what I want to try to do is actually use, you know what, I'm just gonna start with one blob and then see if I can fit a few more. I'm just going to bring this a little bit closer to me. And oh, that's not working how I thought. I thought this is actually going to create this like a burst, but I guess it's not as easy as I thought. Maybe a bigger blob, maybe that's the problem. Bigger blob. Right, so it kind of does that, but not enough, I guess. There we go. Okay, that's so much better. So I needed a bigger blob. Yeah, that definitely works. But I guess it only works for bigger ones. And the last one, I just want to see how it will look if, rather than starting with a blob on the page, I'll have something like lines, something a bit more controlled. Look at how much mess I made. Goodness, this is a very messy technique. I don't know. Just by the way, just so you're aware, I don't practice these in advance. I'm literally just showing you my practice, so things go wrong a lot here, and when nothing is planned, because I'm literally just practicing with you. We will see what happens. Right, I try to make sure that there is enough paint on my lines. And what shall I do? I'll just go like this. Okay, maybe directional. Yeah, so it's a shame that this happened. I think I'm gonna mop this up. Right, so that last one, okay, so this last one, it's kind of makes me think of like a forest, if you want to do like an abstract forest. Right, so my page is very messy now. I'm going to try to mop it up a little bit. And for the next exercise, I don't think this is right. I'm going to try to tidy the page. I'll prepare it and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so for this next exercise, I want to paint some blobs wet in wet and some layered. So I will blow paint. I'll start with the layered one. So I will just pick 3 colors. I guess, oh, let me just, can I do this or is that gonna be in the way? There we go. So I'm going to use yellow, pink and blue. Doesn't really matter which shades, I guess. I mean it does, but you know, it's just an exercise anyway. So I'm just going to use a blob. Do something like this, and then I'll let it dry, and then I'm going to use pink and blue as well. But for this one here, I will do the same thing, except I'll just do it while still wet. So more wet in wet, really. Oh, that's okay, I guess. Right, so now I'm going to switch to pink. You know what, I'm going to take this down because I have a feeling this will just go over. Okay. My favorite permanent rose. Somewhere here. So I'm letting them merge, but I guess these haven't really crossed over. I did want them to cross over. I think it would be better if they did. But it is what it is. Maybe with the blue one it will go a little bit better. At the same time, I don't really want to control it too much, because I want to see what it's going to do. So yeah, poor planning on my part really. I mean, maybe not, because I think it would be very nice if pink and blue cross over. It would make a nice purple. But anyway, clearly this one is more wet in wet. There's more, you know, the colors mix with each other. But this one will be just layered. But for me to do that, I'll have to wait for this one to dry. So I'll be back. Okay, so now that yellow is fully dry, I will do the pink one. Same as before, but this time they will not mix together since yellow is dry. Where is my straw? There we go. And then I'll have to wait for this to dry again. But I actually think maybe I'll add some more pink here as well. Make it a bit more interesting. So it's a very simple exercise, I guess. It's not, you know, a breakthrough or anything, but I think it's just worth remembering that, you know, you can do it both ways. Like I often, when it comes to like messy techniques, I often end up just using them in a messy way, so like wet in wet, but who knows, sometimes layered one might be a better option. So it's just worth remembering that there are different ways of doing things, and that's why testing like this I find it very helpful. Okay, time for the blue. What I'm thinking though about the wet in wet, if I did it again, what I probably would do is use like maybe 3 blobs of like yellow and pink and blue, rather than like this one, you know, almost looking like a heel. I would just, yeah, do a few, because that way they would merge a little bit better, they would mix better, and probably it would look better than it is now. Let's just do the blue one, random blob. That's also another thing you can practice, rather than doing blobs, doing like different shapes, I guess, or like lines or something. That could also be interesting. There we go. And then once this dries, now I want to use these blobs in a painting, and what I'm going to do is something that I used to paint often, and I still really like. My favorite flowers, poppies. So we will do poppy with the flowers with petals that are blown, and also I'll blow the grass on the bottom of the poppy. But again, I need to be patient and wait for it to dry. Okay, now I'm going to paint a simple poppy, nothing fancy, and we will be blowing with a straw again. Let's just put this back on. Yes, I know I should use a clip, but I haven't got one. Okay, so I'll start with the petals. Have my straw ready, and I'm literally just blobbing on some petals. And probably went a little bit too far there. Nice and abstract. I do like to add a little bit of yellow to my poppies, I don't know why. For some added interest. Oh, I just dropped my kitchen towel. Anyway, sometimes what I like to do as well is just to remove a bit of paint to add a little bit of like a texture to the petals, and I add a bit of yellow sometimes. That might be a little bit too much, but hey, actually, do you know what, I'll try blowing it again just with the yellow. There we go, that's actually quite nice. Maybe a little bit more here. There we go. Okay. Now, I usually do an inky center, but I'm kind of wondering if it's too early to add it. Let's just see gently. So some of it dried, so that's a problem, but then some of it didn't. I think that's okay, isn't it? We just leave it in that and let it do its thing. I clearly normally use a bigger size of paper to paint. So I'm kind of struggling here, but it is what it is. Now I'm just going to do a stem and then add some random grasses. Oh, that's a bit, there we go, just a bit of like a stem. I don't really like this green, but I don't know, I'll mix some yellow with it. I'm literally just blobbing some green, and then I'll blob a bit of yellow as well. Don't usually use a green stem, to be honest. I'm not sure these colors work. That was so much better here. This is a mess, isn't it? But let's make it even more messy. Maybe if I add one of those, like the closed ones, the ones that are kind of fluffy, like this, so here. want a little bit too much in here. So yeah, a bit messy, but hey, who cares? I don't like how this turned out, but it is what it is. A little bit of pink for interest. Pink flower. It's going to merge with the green, but I like painting messy. And to make it even more messy, splatter. Let me just put this back on. I'm just going to try to protect some of my table. I should have protected this page. Goodness me. Why am I so messy today? Right. This is turning out not as I planned, but hey, who cares? There we go. Loose, messy poppy. Just for fun. Very messy. So there you go. That's it for today. Tomorrow, for a change, tomorrow is for color theory. So I'll be practicing doing monochrome paintings, which is definitely not my forte. I'm definitely very messy and colorful, but I think it's important to practice things that we're not out of our comfort zone. So that's my plan for tomorrow, and I hope I'll see you there.